Welcome back to the art room. Mrs. Larrabee here. I'm excited to do the second part of our line on a line lesson. Last week we worked on these beautiful pattern papers. I've got to see a few of yours. You guys did a fabulous job. These papers were a part of our lesson line on a line part 1. If you missed that last week, please look up at the tab at the top of our webpage and you can see something that says Archived Lessons K through 2nd grade. And that is where you're going to find that first lesson. You could watch it really quick and get your paper ready because we're going to need it for this class. Another option would be to take a piece of paper and kind of copy what I did here. We used line and shape to make patterns. We repeated them and that made our pattern. And we overlapped our colors so that we would have more interest in our pattern. So we tried to use 3 or more colors for each pattern. So for today's lesson, we're going to be turning those patterns into a sculpture. Here's kind of what our example looks like. A sculpture is a 3-dimensional piece of artwork. You can literally touch and feel the 3rd dimension of it. And sculptures can be viewed all the way around. They can be seen from any angle, and that's something we're going to be considering as we make our artwork today. When we talk about sculpture, we could also use the word statue. And when I say the word statue, I wonder if something like this pops into your head. The Statue of Liberty. Found in New York City, the Statue of Liberty can be seen by boat or by walking on the island all the way around. You can see all the sides of the statue, and Lady Liberty is standing on a pedestal, which are the steps underneath her feet, as a nice base to hold her solid and firm. There's some other statues a little closer to home, and one of them is found in Santa Barbara. Maybe you guys have seen the chromatic gates. Kind of looks like a rainbow, right? And look at those shapes and lines, and they used color. All the things that we've been using for our lessons too. And the chromatic gate can be walked through. It can be viewed all the way around. She's not standing on literal feet like the Statue of Liberty. This statue is standing kind of like our statue will be today. And not every statue obviously has to be of a person. Like ours, it's going to be more of shapes. So with that in mind, let's get started on our lesson today. All right, you are going to need your paper from last week. You're going to need glue. This kind of glue is just fine as well if you have a liquid glue. You're going to need your scissors, and you're going to need one piece of paper or some other kind of base for your statue. So paper, you could use, this is from a cereal box, and I just cut out a square. I didn't need as big as the cereal box is. I cut out a square. It's about 5 inches by 5 inches. You don't have to measure that, but sometimes it's nice just to know what you're looking at. So you could cut a square from it. I just cut it. You might need help because sometimes this is a little harder. A grocery bag would work too. A paper grocery bag is a little more stiff. The idea is we want something with a little more stiffness to it. If you're using a sheet of paper, I'm going to have you fold it in half. So we're going to hold our paper vertical, which means up and down. And then we're going to fold it top to bottom. And then I'll have you put some glue on the inside. So this is if you're using a sheet of paper instead of cardboard, which works perfectly fine. I just go around the edges. You don't have to go down the middle. The edges are the part that we want to stick down, so that's where we want to put our glue. And then we're just going to firmly press it, give it a little rub. This way the paper is just a little more stiff to use as our base. I'm going to use this piece of cardboard because it just shows up better in the video, but know that the paper is going to be just a great way to work too. I'm going to talk just for a minute about how we use one of our supplies, and that would be our scissors. Scissors are designed specifically for how to hold them. You probably have some that look something like mine. There's a small opening and a larger opening for our fingers, and I just want to make sure we're all holding our scissors properly. So if you could hold yours like mine, the small opening here and the large opening here, maybe place them in your hand. So the small opening is closest to my thumb, and I'm going to simply put my thumb into the small opening. And these 2 fingers, my pointer finger and my middle finger, will go inside the second hole. And then this gives us the most strength in our hand for opening and closing our scissors. Give it a try with yours as well. Now, scissors are generally going to be held up and down like this, but it's important that we keep them facing in front of us. If we're cutting something, in just a moment, we're going to be cutting our patterns. And if we're cutting and we want to cut this way and we turn our hands to this direction, we lose a little bit of control when we have over our scissors. And definitely if we're cutting this way, have you ever felt, you're trying to like move your body around to get your scissors where you want it to go? Well, here's the trick. The scissors stay in front of you and the paper moves. So if I'm wanting to cut a line going this way, then I'm going to move my paper and not my scissors. I'm going to split the paper inside and I'm going to close and open, close and open. I'm sure a lot of us have used scissors before, but sometimes we learn things about them we didn't know. I actually just learned some of that about the paper in the last few years myself. So these are all important little tips that might help us be a little more efficient in how we use our scissors, make it a little easier for us. So we have our fingers in the right place, we're opening and closing, and we're turning our paper and not our hand. We'll talk about that in some other lessons too. We'll get to practice more. But for today, we're just going to be cutting straight lines in our paper. Now, if your patterns aren't spaced apart, that's fine. Just cut straight lines as you go through them. Try to aim for like 6 or 7 cuts in your paper. But if you did leave space, then you can kind of cut around them, and see I went over this pattern a little, and that's fine. Go ahead and pick up your paper and let's cut these strips together. All right, all done. Not all of my papers are exactly the same. Some are wider, some are thinner. Here's another thing that you could do with, this is an optional thing with paper. If you have some extra paper that's colorful in your art box, you could use that. Maybe it's a spare piece of construction paper. Maybe you have a little bit left from another project. This is a great time to use those scraps. This is actually a card I received from someone, and I just thought it was a really pretty color, and I had put it in my art box. This is a great time to use that. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to just cut some straight lines just to add a little color to my sculpture. And again, this is optional. It's not necessary. All right, that's probably enough of those, just a few. All right, let's get started on our sculpture. We're probably not going to use all our sheets of paper, so be thinking about what some of your favorite patterns were. Get out your base. Here it is. Get your glue handy and ready. All right, we're going to take, you choose any of your papers that you would like. I'm going to choose kind of a wide one for this first one. Ooh, I'm going to choose this one. I want you to lay it down in front of you, kind of like I laid this one down. We're going to make feet on our sculpture, not literal feet, but we're going to make something to help our sculpture stand on its base. We're going to fold both edges over like so. Okay, and then I'm going to turn mine to the side just so you can see it. I'm going to squeeze these two edges together. I like to hold them in my hand like this. These are the feet of our sculpture. I'm going to take my glue stick and I'm going to tickle the feet with my glue. Can you hear them laughing? Are you ticklish on your feet? Just like our statue might be. All right, I'm adding glue, especially to the edges, because that's the part we really need to stick down. And then I'm going to choose where I want to put it on my statue. I'm starting to compose. I'm going to put mine to the side. And this is kind of an important part too. We want to make sure that our glue sticks, so we need to add pressure for just a minute. So we're going to count down, or well, let's count up this time. We'll count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, that's stuck pretty well. All right, go ahead and grab another one of your pieces. Let's add feet again. All right, there's different ways that we can bend our paper. So we bent this one into an arch, but we could also fold our paper after we've put the feet on it. We could fold it like this. We could just keep folding it over on itself. like this. And then we could let it unfold a little. Oh, it kind of made a triangle pattern or a wave. And then I see the triangle in the middle. I folded my pattern on the inside. I could flip this around if I want to see my pattern, which I kind of do. I like that pattern. I could just turn it and fold it the other way. Just folding paper, making different types of lines with our paper, just like we did with our pen. We're making different types of lines. All right, I'm going to add, this one's going to have 1 foot instead of 2. I'm going to add my glue. You guys can work along with me, but if you want, why don't you watch some of my ideas and then you can pause the video and then you can come up with some of your own as well. I'm going to put this, I think I'm going to put it inside of that one. Kind of makes an interesting shape. Remember that your sculpture can be seen from all sides, so every so often we're going to pick it up and turn it around and see where there might be empty space that needs filling. I see a lot of empty space in mine. We're just getting started, right? All right, let me grab one more of these. Let's see. We'll do this one next. Okay, another thing that we could do, we could make a zigzag, and here's how this looks. I fold it back, and then I fold it forward. I fold it back, and then I fold it forward. I do the opposite. Sometimes if you make a fan out of paper, this would be the same idea. And then when it pulls out, I have a zigzag. All right, I'm going to fold some little feet on my zigzag. I'm going to tickle them. This time I'm going to show you using our liquid glue, if this is what you're using at home. With liquid glue, we dot, not a lot. Notice I just put little tiny dots on there. We don't need a lot of glue. You can add a sculpture on top of a piece on top of a piece for your sculpture. So I've added this to the top of my arch. I forgot to count on the other one. Let's count down this time. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. All right, so we can keep adding. You can add some of your colored paper in. You could wrap it around your finger like this. And then give it a little squeeze. And then you have a circle, kind of like a wave there. Don't forget to add a foot to the bottom when you go to glue it down. You could make arches. Let's see, I'm going to put this out here in the front. You can make arches that are thinner or wider than this one. Here's what I mean by that. So if I take this piece of paper and fold the little feet up, I have paint on my hands. And then I bring those together and I tickle them with my glue. Dot, dot, not a lot. Notice I'm going around the edges. Then maybe I want to do another arch, but this one I'm going to stretch out and make wider. Let's count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, I'm going to keep going with mine. You keep going with yours. I can't wait to see what you get done. I'm going to show you, I'll show you a couple of examples here. So I went in and every so often I added some paper. This was some scratch paper, construction paper that I had in my art box. And I just turned it and I found a space that looked a little empty and I added a different thing to it. I made some of my arches very tall, some of them very small. This one I cut in half. There's a very wide one in the middle. And I made sure that all the way around I had something interesting to look at. On this one I cut the paper thinner and made a zigzag, a smaller zigzag. I like to hide things inside there to see, which is kind of fun. All right, I hope that gave you some ideas for your sculpture. It is your turn now. Go ahead, let me see you guys and what you create. When you're done with your sculpture, it may not fit in your art portfolio. It probably isn't, but these are pretty cool, hung on the wall. You can hang them on the wall just like this. Sometimes I like to display them that way when we're in the art room together. So these look great hung on the wall, or you can leave them up like this. I hope you guys have a great time with making your sculptures, and I can't wait to see what you create.